You're invited to a hot summer night with 7 Horse. Seven Horse, live at the Roxy in West Hollywood, Saturday, August 19th. 7 Horse, with special guest Mike Dawson and the Smokin Kills.
Just another Southern California.
Tickets on sale now at 7horsemusic.com.
Had an old shoebox lid filled with stems and seeds. Just the kind of thing that a growing boy needs.
7 Horse, Mike Dawson and the Smokin Kills. Saturday, August 19th at the Roxy. Find the link to tickets at adamcarolla.com.
Truly a sight to behold. The man beat the once great champ, now a study in moppishness. No longer the victory-hungry stallion we've raced so many times before, but a pathetic, washed-up, aged ex-champion.
All right, let's go.
I think you know the guy. And I think you know him pretty damn well. His name is
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley. Izzy Presley. Izzy Presley.
What's my name? Say my name, bitch!
My good friend, Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley. Ouch!
Izzy Presley. Whoa, that sounds a little weird.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley.
Izzy Presley, the heaviest, girthiest rock DJ around.
Hey, this is Jeff LeBar. You listen to Izzy Presley. Those aren't pillows.
No, those are not pillows, Jeff LeBar. Hello, Las Vegas. Hello, world. Hello, my loyal minions. It is good to see you, and it's always good to be seen. I am Izzy Presley, and this is another fucking podcast. It is great to be here. I got my friend Joel Hoekstra with me. He'll be chiming in just a second. Make sure you guys, if you are in the Los Angeles area, August 19th, the Smokin Kills, we are opening up for 7 Horse and a Dada reunion at the Roxy. It's going to be awesome. Run, do not walk to your ticket office and check that out. Make sure you hit up all the social media at realizzypresley all the way across the board, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And of course, the show page is another effing podcast. Yes, it says Metal Edge on there too. That's only when Paul is here. And as you can see, no Paul Gargano, no Metal Edge magazine podcast. So Joel, I apologize about that. Because, you know, sometimes that Metal Edge kind of gives it a little boost, but you know, it's not the Metal Edge. It is what it is. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right, man. How about you? Everything cool?
Everything's great, dude. I did not realize you had so many fan clubs around the world.
I mean, you know, I've got a nice, like, dedicated fan base out there that people like. It's kind of mind blowing, you know, that actively are interested in everything I'm doing. It's you know, it's flattering, really. At the end of the day, it's like, man, okay, cool, thank you.
I'm jealous. I don't have any of those, so. You know, there's no Izzy Presley official fan club. It's just me, but I'm okay with that. Before we get into everything, I just wanted to let you know, if you would have had me play instead of Nuno, I could have gotten hurt. And then everything would be right in the rock and roll world.
Yes, I know, man. Poor Nuno.
I know. And I'm obviously not making light of it because it's a horrible injury, and I'm glad he's on the mend.
It actually is, man. I couldn't believe when I heard what it really was at the end of it all. I was like, oh my gosh.
Did you see it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I was right there, but nobody bumped into him. It was just how he came down, and I think it was a past injury that he'd had kind of ish, but like way worse this time. But yeah, I mean, torn ACL, like fully severed, and like, I mean, you know, unbelievable, like, you know, horrific stuff. So, yeah, you know, poor guy, man. And I was doing that gig with him just immediately after it too, with Gabby, you know, singing Gabriella, I guess is her new stage name she goes by, but you know, I know her as Gabby Ray, and I'm sure you do too. But so Nuno was playing djembe on that, and he had asked me to do that, which was, of course, you know, it's Nuno Betancourt. I'm like, of course, dude, I want to jam with you, and it'd be a lot of fun. And so I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is like a double whammy, you know, like he's hurt, the gig's probably canceled here, and like, So I was just kind of like, well, I'm going to go up there and just see who shows. And lo and behold, he came in and like a trooper, man, he played that, that set sitting down. He probably had some wicked painkillers going on. He probably had a killer buzz for that gig. I mean, that's probably why he played so well. He was really feeling that, djembe, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we were at the Extreme show. I had to get the Pat Fontaine laughing there. We were at that Extreme show, and I was dressed up as Sasquatch, and I can't remember. We didn't know that it happened, and we were trying to get video of Sasquatch in front of Nuno, and Nuno seeing Sasquatch and whatever. And then Eddie came out and made the announcement. It's like, oh, okay, so maybe this isn't going to go as planned. He
maybe he's not going to find the humor in the Sasquatch sighting. Yeah,
exactly. So we didn't push the envelope, so to speak. But
well, I mean, I'm a little offended you didn't come to my set in the Sasquatch outfit. I mean, what's up with that?
Well,
what am I, chopped liver? I'm chopped liver. Is that
suey? Chop suey.
Chop suey. Okay, yeah, that's right. You told me that before. I don't know why.
Yeah. Well, we should probably start out talking about the new record, Crash of Life. When did you start working on this? When did all the ideas start coming together?
So there were some riffs that were kind of like stuff that I had written, like the guitar riffs for past things, and I just thought, I got a lot of stuff like that, and I go through it and I figure, hey, that would fit. I can build that into a song for this record. And then I kind of looked at those and I went, now what do I need from there? Like, what's missing?
Yeah.
And man, I like records that have a lot of diversity on it in terms of like, I mean, obviously all the stuff's rock, I mean, I'm not going to like go throw like a rap track on there or a reggae track or something stupid.
I have seen you rap before, Joel.
You have.
There is video of it.
I know, but there's, like I always reference like Led Zeppelin, like Houses of the Holy, like that record's got like every song has got something different. There's like a lot of different vibes on there. So I like that, and Frontiers wasn't as pressing on this one in terms of like, Running Games. They were like, hey man, try and make it all sound, like more cohesive than Dying to Live. Dying to Live was like all over the map too, but I personally like it all over the map,
Yeah.
So they were just kind of like, look, everything you do is cool. Just make a record, and really just gave me the freedom to do what I wanted on this one. And so there's a lot of different vibes happening on there. It goes from like really heavy tracks like Far Too Deep or Everybody Knows Everything, Damaged Goods, through like ballads like Torn Into Lies and Over You. So it made it a tricky record like to like market, like making the videos and stuff is like every time you make a video, everybody just assumes, well, I guess all 11 songs are going to sound like that, but
yeah.
I think there's like, there's some straight ahead rockers that are kind of like AC/DC influenced on this, and obviously a little bit of Whitesnake influence, and Deep Purple in spots. And then it's like, the way I look at these albums is like, I wanted to represent what got me into guitar when I was young. It's supposed to be a throwback to like what brought me into the this life that we're living, man. So I want all that stuff represented. And for me, a lot of that early stuff was the hard rock, the heavy metal. I mean, early on for me, it was all like AC/DC, Sabbath, Ozzy, Iron Maiden. There are even a couple spots on this album where you can hear the Maiden influence, and Queensryche, and so there are influences that poke through. Dokken, you hear that poke through here and there. So there's all that stuff that's what got me into this, man. And then as life would have it, I ended up taking a very long, strange path to where I ended up being able to do all the cool gigs and whatnot. But that in the end, having this opportunity to make like rock albums, I just want to represent what got me into it.
Well, is playing with a band like Whitesnake, does that like influence how you write? Because you get so used to playing those songs that you kind of start fucking around and go, oh, that kind of sounds like a Snake song, but I kind of like it myself.
I think there's definitely part of that. Like, I think that the further I go into like the pro world, the people that I get influenced by are the people that I work with. Like when people are like, who are your influences? It's like, well, I don't really spend a lot of time, to be honest, like going and just designated time for listening to music these days. So you end up kind of, your main influences kind of become the people that you're either working with or that you're replacing, or like, because you're trying to emulate their licks or vibe. And like, so, you know, you end up absorbing like a percentage of those people into your style, you know?
Well, you know, I mean, you played with Cher for how long, you know, and Whitesnake, you play with so many people. Does that also have maybe a negative effect on your playing and how you write, that it might level out and I'm not saying it's generic, but you know what I mean, where it kind of levels out into one mush. Does that make sense?
Into one mush.
I don't know. I'm trying to find the word. That's what came up.
I don't know, man. I mean, no. Okay. So the way I look at these is that I try to go at them like I'm not trying to prove anything on guitar.
Yeah.
You know. So I want them because, let's face it, when I was 11 or 12 and started getting into metal and hard rock, I wasn't like, wow, that guitar player really shreds. I was like, that's a really cool song. And like, so that's kind of what I go after when it comes to these, is a little bit more like, hey, it's a cool song, and then it's got like maybe a cool guitar solo in the middle or something like that. But I'm definitely not trying to make like prog records or anything like that. It's like, hey, let me show you like all like how complicated I can write, and like, you know, so it's more about just for me, like trying to create something that I would have enjoyed as a listener. Or even still would, you know. So a lot of it in the end, oddly enough, is about the vocals, you know. But on these albums, I write all of that stuff. Like I write all the lyrics and the vocal melodies. I actually, for all these records, I sing the entire album, and there's like a guide vocal for the vocalist. And when they go to track, so you know, they just sing it a whole lot better than I do. You know, I mean, I could like. You know, play that maybe for a comedy reel sometime. We could have a good laugh at all that. But it's, I mean, I just kind of, but the song is there for them, you know, like when they go to listen to it and they can go, okay, yeah, I get what he's looking for right there. And so anyway, they're a lot of work. I mean, making these albums are a lot of work for me. So much more than the other stuff that I'm recording these days, like Iconic or Revolution Saints. Those are not near as much work. The Joel Hoekstra 13 are like I mean, it's everything all the way from A to Z. It's like, you know, overseeing the artwork, overseeing the mix, writing all the lyrics, you know, obviously playing all the guitars. And, you know, the nice thing is having players on there like Vinny Appice and Tony Franklin and Derek Sherinian that like, very rarely do I ever have to say anything to those guys. So like as much as I'm like very involved in like the writing end of things, I'm super hands off on the production style. Like when it comes to like giving an album to those guys, I just give them the songs, they do their thing, and every once in a great while I'll be like, hey, that one section, would you mind, you know, thinking something like this, but like, or, you know, maybe ask for like, hey, could you play a solo in this part, or, you know, with Derek. But very rarely. It's pretty much like whatever they give me, I'm like, cool, and I just roll with it.
Right. So are you actually producing these records? Or
I mean,
okay. Well,
I mean,
let me ask, Joel, let me ask you this. I mean, have you ever thought about working with a producer? How do you think a producer could help or negatively affect these records?
And I wouldn't want to do it with these, man, because I mean, I just want to do what I want to do on them.
I get it.
There's so little about, like, for me, that it has zero to do with like commercial success or anything that. It's more like just part of like the overall story of so to sound like self-important, but like the legacy aspect of like my life, like, because you know, I don't want to be just like, oh, that guy, that guy has some cool gigs when it like I want to have my own music. And I mean, I put out 3 instrumental albums years ago where I wrote everything on it. And, you know, basically those were largely ignored by anyone in my life, and continue to be so. So I found doing these when I started getting a little more well known, like joining Night Ranger and whatnot, and getting Rock of Ages, and then TSO, and then Whitesnake, and people were asking, like, how come your solo albums are so weird? They're just like these instrumental fusion albums. Like, you need some rock albums. And I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to do that. So I started making these, and I have a great time making them. I think that they're like, high quality musicianship across the board on it, in terms of like the people playing on it and whatnot. I think it's, hard rock well represented. There's nothing on there that's like, well, he's just phoning it in. I now, as far as like the when you're talking about like the creativity of it or whatever, it's not like this material wouldn't be described as like, the most hyper creative stuff I've done. That stuff would be like more like my instrumental stuff. But that was almost like alienating to people, like, so I look at it like, also it would have been alienating to me when I was a kid, in terms of like, what am I going to get into rock for? So as I said, that's kind of what these are. They're supposed to represent like the core of what brought me into guitar playing, and then hopefully have my own spin on it and perform it in a way that sounds 2023, not like, well, this is just 1982 repackaged.
Right.
So anyway, man, they're just meant to be solid rock records.
No, they are. That's the bottom line. I mean, that's what you're going for. As far as of course, no, my screen is stuck and I can't get to my other where like the internet screen is. The cat that you used on vocals on this one.
Yeah, Girish Pradhan. Yeah.
Had you worked with him before?
No, man. He's kind of like, on the come up, man. It's like somebody that Frontiers said, hey, what about this guy? I'd had Russell Allen singing on the first couple records. He split the lead vocals with Jeff Scott Soto on the first one, but Russell's really kind of been the main lead vocalist on the first couple. And Russ is amazing, but the last album took a really long time, and he doesn't really want to do promo for anything that he's not like, quote unquote, in a band with, etc. So Girish was like somebody that I could work with in terms of like, hey, he'll do some promo, and he's a great singer, and schedule a little bit more open to be able to like do it in a timely manner, it just made more sense. And I think he's really fantastic. He's really an amazing singer. He's like in that new generation, him and Dino Jalusic and some of the younger cats that are coming up that are just like outstanding.
I did notice he does have a little Soto in him.
I mean, I think he's a real chameleon. His band, Girish and the Chronicles, that was what Serafino over at Frontier sent me like a link to, and he's kind of reminded me of like Sebastian Bach. It was kind of like listening to like early Skid Row. There was all these really high screams, and I thought, well, he sounds amazing, but that's not at all like the vibe of the first two albums of mine. Like that was more like, my perfect singer, if I could mold the ultimate guy, would be like Ronnie James Dio, Paul Rogers, and Lou Gramm all smashed together. Like where you have like the soul, they can sing like the ballads like Lou Gramm could, the soulfulness, the soul of Paul Rogers, and then having the power and grit of Ronnie James Dio. I mean, that's kind of like that. So I was like, yeah, man, he's amazing, but let's see how it goes. So I gave him the tunes, and then as he was turning in the tracks, I started to realize, I'm like, oh, this guy can actually sound like anything he wants to sound like, It for me, it was like a little bit less of like, I didn't want him to be as much of like the high screamer guy on my album as he is on his stuff. It was a little bit like maybe not as much of that, a little bit more like sing the song, riff a little bit here or there, grit it out, cool, everything, be aggressive, but maybe not that high scream thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like the high scream thing is great, but at some point there's got to be some soul and some testicular fortitude in there too. You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, it was like had more to do with the cohesiveness of like the brand name. Like if you're releasing an album like under something that's already has a couple albums out, you want it to be like you don't want the singer to be a complete departure from the other two. So it's more of that. I mean, I'm impressed by any of that. Like Sebastian, early Sebastian, man, that stuff that's insane.
It's untouchable.
Amazing vocals, but it's just apples and oranges with what we're talking about, that's all.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a long list of singers we could go through or you could cite that. I mean, you're like Steve Perry's completely amazing, but like, if all of a sudden I had somebody who sounds more like Steve Perry, like Dean Castronovo sing on my album, it would be like, well, this sounds completely different than Russell Allen. What's the deal?
Yeah. Or like having Copson.
I mean, I'm pretty spoiled at the end of the day, really, when you think about it. All the singers that I've been working with, I've really been working with some amazing singers. So I'm really pretty spoiled in that department, I guess.
If you had to pick, I mean, not to put you on the spot, but if you had to pick the one quintessential singer that you've worked with, who would it be?
I mean, that wouldn't be fair to do that to the other people.
Know.
So I mean, I can't really do that. All those guys that we're talking about are all like really insane singers, in terms of their abilities. Russell is incredible, and Dino and Girish, Nathan James who sings with Iconic is incredible. These guys are all like amazing singers. And Dean Castronovo, man, I mean, people don't talk about him because he's a drummer.
Right.
But dude, that his vocals they're insane. Kelly Hansen from Foreigner is incredible. I mean, there's a lot of really, really amazing rock singers out there. So I mean, it gets to a point where it's like just whatever floats your boat, man.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
Anne Marie's chat. I can only see the bottom part of the chat room. I was able to make the Zoom screen small so I can see the bottom part of the chat room. Anne Marie checked in and said, Garish really tapped into the emotion of the lyrics perfectly.
I would say that Garish followed my guide track a lot more than Russ. Russ is really into like finding his own thing with it, would change things around, and Girish really just kind of like stuck to the script more a little bit. But like I think he did a really good job of like I kind of had that rap with him about just trying to like sing the song, emote the song and whatever, blah diddy blah. I don't want to take credit for his vocals, I mean, he's an amazing singer. I seriously don't want to take credit for he's an amazing singer. So like, it's not cool to be like, hey, I made, but I mean, he's an incredible singer, man, so he's just got it.
Yeah. Well, it's like, it's like a writer writing a script and then the actors,
exactly
what they do,
exactly, man.
Well, and plus you talk about the singers you worked with. I mean, then you got Jack Blades, and then there's DC. It's like
exactly
pretty charmed life.
Yeah. I mean, all the way across the board for a while now. It's been working with either people that were my childhood idols, or this new breed of talent that I'm the old guy. And they're like, cool, he plays with my idol, like this breed of amazing talent, younger talent coming up. So it's all cool, man. I mean, it's really been a charmed life to be able to lead, to be able to do what I've been able to do, especially these last like maybe 15 years or so.
Right.
Just to be able to get out and, you know, be a part of Night Ranger, be a part of Whitesnake, and play with Trans-Siberian Orchestra. I mean, there's an amazing pool of talent in Trans-Siberian Orchestra, man. You know, when we're at rehearsals, it's like you look around catering and you're like, my gosh, this is about as much talent as you can get, like in the rock world, in a room, you know?
Right. Well, so, see, Joel, I mean, you think about it, about 10 years ago when we met, then your fucking flag started going higher and higher. I just want to take credit for it. I mean, what can I say?
I think, you know, I mean, there's no question that I owe it all to you. Everybody knows that. That's why we don't need to say it. Is I mean, it's
exactly. It was that one performance on the Monsters of Rock cruise when we did One Way to Rock.
Everybody knows. Yeah. Everybody knows. And there's every, you know, trust me, you're known as that guy. You don't need to prove anything to anybody, man. Everybody knows you've made it happen for me, brother.
That's what I do. I take care of everybody else, and I live in solidarity. What can I say? How has the response been?
I mean, I'd say really good. You know, I mean, I've seen like all good reviews for it, pretty much. You know, and it's yeah, I'd say good reception. As I said, I mean, the majority of the thing for me is like just part of like the life story why I want to like do these. And it's fun to be like the guy who does it all for a change, because like every project or band that you're a part of, there's different dynamics. Like, you know, and all of it's cool, don't get me wrong, but like, okay, so when I'm writing with Iconic, Michael Sweet likes to work with me the way he works with George Lynch, where I give him like the unarranged guitar riffs.
Yeah.
And then he chops them up and he arranges them. And then he gives those to Alessandro and Nathan, and those guys write lyrics and vocal melodies. So that project or band, whatever you want to call it, it's very collaborative. So by the time you get the songs back, it's like, hey, I recognize my riffs in there, but it's not necessarily like, you know, it's like I'm a part of the songwriting, but I'm not like the guy who wrote the whole song. And with Revolution Saints, that's, you know, barely any songwriting. It's more like I'm responsible for the performance end of things. Like I'm the guy who's gonna like, you know, well, I got to make my mark on this album by playing the guitar parts really well, maybe having good solos, having cool, maybe changing the riffs up a bit so they're more what I would do, stuff like that. But there's less input in terms of the songwriting there. And then, you know, with Whitesnake, a lot of that with David, with Flesh and Blood, that was kind of completing ideas that David would have. So like a lot of it, you know, David writes, oddly enough, you'd never picture this, but he has a little nylon string guitar and he holds it like this, and he'll say, I've got this chorus, and he'll strum the chorus for you and sing you the chorus. And then he'll say, where would you go from there? And so a lot of it was coming up with like the next riff or whatever, and saying, well, you could do this for a verse or this for a bridge. And that's what a lot of like the Whitesnake co-writes were like. And really kind of the same with Night Ranger, you know, but less, you know, like I would maybe get like 2 or 3 co-writes on an album with those guys. So everything has had its varying degrees. So it's fun every once in a while, like with these, to be like the guy who's like, aha, I get to write like everything, write the lyrics and the melodies, and so that to me is the fun part. And but I'm cool with all the other stuff too. It's not like I'm not complaining. Sure. Like, you know, that's just that kind of stuff is what it is. Like when you're in a band that's been around like as long as like Night Ranger was or whatever, when I was with them, I wouldn't expect them to be like, hey, write our album for us, Joel. Like you're, you know, you've been in the band, what, 10 minutes now, you know, like, write our new album for us. Like, I get it, you know, I'm not like, you know, I'm not complaining. That just is the way it works, you know? That's just the way it is when you're in the business, man, you know?
Well, but I mean, were there points where you were writing with Brad? Or would it? Or would you just Brad say, "Oh, this is what you're going to play," or was there like?
I mean, the songs I have co-writes on with them, like there were, you know, I think 3 songs on Somewhere in California, maybe 2 on High Road, or maybe something like that. So, so a couple of those were like ones where we'd all be jamming in a room together. and I'd be responsible for a couple of the sections of it or something like that. So they wanted a couple songs like that on the records, and then there was a couple that I'd write with Brad, like at his place, and then we'd go in and show them to Jack and Kelly, and they'd be like, "Yeah, that's cool, let's do it." So yeah, stuff like that. But mainly, yeah, I mean, Brad was definitely my like, that was, I mean, from being on the cruise that, Brad and we were like that was my buddy when I was in Night Ranger for sure.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
we were the guys like hanging out and jamming, and we would jam all the time. When I go over to his house, Brad would have play along karaoke. Like, so not only would somebody be singing, but you'd also have to like jam along on guitar. So you'd have to like, one of us would be playing guitar, and sometimes we'd be the one singing, and we'd just have a ball. And then a lot of times we'd just sit and jam, like just on his couch or whatever. We'd just, jam for really long time, hang out and party and jam for hours.
Which do you prefer, writing as like in a room with a bunch of people, like jamming, or do you prefer just like kind of write? Because obviously it's different for Joel Hoekstra's 13, but sometimes you're like with the Night Ranger stuff, you're jamming in a room and coming up with stuff like that. Which way do you prefer doing it?
I mean, I'm a big fan of the remote thing, which people kind of freak out about, because they're like, no, man, wouldn't it be cool if everybody was in the same room together? And it's like, a lot of those people don't understand. It's like, man, you actually get better stuff out of yourself when you're by yourself. Like if I'm recording, like if you gave me your song and you're like, hey Joel, I want you to play on my track, I would maybe sit at home and spend like 6 or 7 hours and think nothing of it, and be like, Izzy, listen to this, and you'd get like my best guitar playing that I could give you. Now, if we were all in the studio together and you're like, hey, I just paid like $1,000 for this room today, you're doing like 1,000,000 takes, dude, like what gives? And everybody else is like, hey, I want to be jamming. Then you end up settling sooner, and you go like, yeah, you know what, man, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Like, don't worry about it. It's cool. So, I mean, there's something to be said for the cool, chemistry of writing stuff with other people. I do like that. But that whole like having everybody together in the same room thing is a little overrated, and the virtual thing is a little underrated. It's actually a really great way of doing things. Like, you're right there in your sweet spot to get like the sounds you want to get. You can do as many takes as you want to do with no pressure, without anybody, like waiting and going like, how much time are you going to take, man?
No, I get it. And with the 13, you've played on the cruise. Is there other like live dates and stuff like that you do with the 13, or is that pretty much only on the boat?
That's pretty much the only one so far. I mean, there's been some talk. I've had some offers to go do some shows, especially with Girish now on board. So there's definitely the possibility of it. I think I would lose like a lot of money if I did it, and it just would be like, by the time you're done like paying everybody to get it out there, and then you'd want to do a run rather than like, hey, let's rehearse it once. And Vinny would be really a key to that, because I don't know if you came to the gig we did on the boat, but that was nice to have Vinny there, because it was like, you can play some Sabbath and you can play some Dio in the set, and because I'm there, you can play you get away with a Whitesnake song or two, and then everything that. And you slip that in with the stuff off the Joel Hoekstra's 13 albums that really kind of takes the edge off. Like, we're listening to, like, if people don't have the albums, they're going to be like, oh man, what, I don't know any of these songs. So it's kind of nice to have that. So you're not going to take Vinny Appice on the road and be like, hey, we're going to be like riding around in this van for the next 2 weeks, and staying at the Motel 6 or whatever. So, you'd want to do it the right way and treat people well. So it would be tough financially to do. So it would just be like, which I'm not beyond doing, like taking a loss on some things. It'd be like, hey man, because that's what it's about. You got to reinvest in yourself to like continue to grow. So I'm not against it. It just is like, I guess I quite often have things like a schedule that I look at where I'm like, yeah, but I'm actually making money in that time period and making money in this time.
Right.
So like, where do you set aside the, hey, let's, and have it magically line up with all those guys? Like, hey, you guys want to do this for like 2 months? And
yeah, well, it's like, do I go do gigs with Brandon Gibbs, or like these 2 little acoustic gigs and make some money doing that, or do I go lose money doing this? I mean, which, flip the coin.
and it's a lot of money, or a lot of like logistical stuff that falls on me at that point in time as well. So yeah, I mean, it'd be great to get it out there. We'll see,
And I'm assuming you're going to run into the same thing with Revolution Saints. Is there going to be live gigs with that band too, or is that just kind of that Frontiers? Hey, let's put these guys together and put out a record.
No, I mean, I would say the odds of that one getting out there on my end would be better, because I wouldn't be the guy being like, hey, I'll pay for everything, guys, don't worry. I'd be the guy going like, okay, well, here's what I need to go do that, And Dean really wants to do it. I think right now, especially once Journey's done, that's always been, Dean is like, man, we got to get this out there. And then, Jeff right now, of course, the Foreigner just started their farewell. So, but I could see like the Revolution Saints thing being something that does like live dates once Foreigner hangs it up. Like, if we're getting to that point where it's like, Dean's got some holes in the Journey schedule, and I can see it. I mean, you really got Jeff Pilson and myself and Dean just trying to get out there, and I'd love to do some gigs with those guys. I think Dean is really totally underrated in like every department, man. Like the vocal thing is like, it's off the charts. Because when I did my guitar tracks on the Eagle Flight record, it was still Alessandro's vocals on the demo vocals, right? And I remember doing it pretty quick and thinking, yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, it's pretty cool album. And then I got the mixes. All of a sudden I hear like Dean singing everything, and it's all mixed, and I was like, my head exploded, because I was like, wow, just everything that he sings, everything, and lifts the level at what, how good it is, and how good of a song it is. It's like he can take a song and just elevate it with his singing, man. It's incredible.
Well, plus he's a monster drummer too.
It's ridiculous. It's unfair. It's unfair to us mere mortals, dude.
Oh, trust me, Joel. You are less than a mere, or more higher than a mere mortal.
I'm less than a mere mortal. Izzy Presley.
You have not what I meant.
I'm gonna use that on like my .com, dude. I'm gonna less than a mere mortal.
Less than a mere mortal. Jesus Christ. I've only had one sip of beer and that came out wrong. I apologize.
Hey, man, come on. I think it came out right. What are you talking about, man?
Shit.
Come on, brother.
Oh, my fuck. Oh, I suppose that, like even with the touring stuff and the show stuff, you have such a large chunk of your year eaten up by TSL.
I mean, 2 months every year. Usually is,
dude, like musical. That's a big chunk.
Yeah. So it's basically the end of October. So November, December every year, pretty much go to TSO, and that's something that I mean, I wouldn't give that up, man, for anything. It's like being able to get out and play arenas for 2 months every year, and multiple shows a day, often on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You get on the bus, you're like, well, we played for 25,000 people today. I mean, it's great. And plus, there's a bond there with that band. I've been playing with those guys for what now, like 12, 13 years, something like that. So I mean, we're all real tight, like, I mean, we know each other, we're friends. And it's like, it's like imagine if the cruise was 2 months long, because Monsters of Rock is the same thing. Like, we have there's that bond that you and I have, because we do the cruise every year. The cruise has that kind of like family aspect to it too, right? Larry's got that group of people that he's like, hey, Well, TSO is like that too, but it's 2 months long, you know. So we're on the cruise for like 5 days together or whatever. We see each other every year on there, but we've got a bond because of it, right? Because you and I have both been doing that since the beginning, of Monsters of Rock. And so it's the same for TSO for me. I have a bond with those people. Like, you know, I just get on there and we're like brothers, you know, and it's like, and brothers in the sense that we can bust each other's balls and stuff like that too. It's not just like, you know, getting on there and being like, you know, I'm super well behaved and I'm not going to say what I think. You know, we can look at each other and know what each other think, you know. It's that kind of thing. Yeah.
Scotty checking in from Canada in the chat room. Take off, you. I can't get to my clips because usually there's that Canadian clip. Take off, you hoser. He goes, I'd have fun, but I think my liver would hate me on a 2-month cruise. Yes. Well, you wouldn't have to worry about it because you don't drink anymore. But us who enjoy the sauce.
You heathens.
Yeah.
You heathens. Yeah.
Us heathens. How much rehearsal goes into the TSO show?
We do about 2.5 weeks, something like that. Yeah. So yeah, we some of it is done it's in an arena, right? The rehearsals. And there's 2 bands. There's the West band and the East band. And so there's 2 full stage setups and they kind of face each other in the body of the arena, which is awesome because you never see that anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're identical rigs. So, you know, you've got identical pyro and lights and everything like that. And what's crazy is sometimes they'll fire the pyro on their stage while we're rehearsing on our stage. So you're looking across at what the pyro looks like. You're like, wow, that's pretty awesome, man. You know, but it's also sometimes, obviously not both bands are playing on the main stages. So when one band is on the main stage, you're kind of in essentially what's like the locker rooms in there, and you're rehearsing in there, like what would be the dressing rooms in a normal arena, right? And so the band rehearses in there. If the West band is on the main stage, we're in there, and then you swap that out. So it's really fun. The rehearsal period with TSO is some of my favorite time because, you know, you got having all the West guys there too. That's just like doubling the amount of people you have that you're friends with that are there, basically. You know, I mean, there's a lot of people that in that West band that I'm really tight with. You know, you mentioned Soto earlier. I mean, he's in the West band. Jeff's one of my dear friends in this business. So, you know, being able to like hang with him at rehearsals is great.
Have they ever thought about like swapping? Having the West do the East run and the East do the West run? Would you like that?
Never in its entirety would they do that. There are cities that change, like, but from year to year due to the routing. So, like, there are cities that you'd almost call them swing cities, right? Because, like, one year the East band will be there, the next year the West band hits it. So that has changed from period to period. But I don't think they would want to do that just from a continuity aspect. Like if you're somebody who's going to that show as a casual fan every year, and like, I don't know, I'll just say Salt Lake City, something arbitrary, and you've seen the West band every year, and you show up and all of a sudden there's all these different people up there, it ruins the tradition.
I get it.
Which there's a big element of tradition with TSO. So it might be fun for us to go all do something else. But you know, at the end of the day, like the fans would be like, who are these people? You know, because they haven't seen us every year.
Yeah. Well, I could just see it. Like, we're in Sheboygan in December and it's 20 below, and these motherfuckers are in Vegas. This is horse shit.
I mean, we have those moments, you know, those moments occur. The East band definitely looks at the West band's itinerary from time to time, and we get a little jealous, you know.
Yeah.
But the advantage to the East band, we got really tight routing, so we have it a little bit easier when we're out of a city at night and we're driving to the next place. It's a lot of times it's like a 3-hour drive, and we're to the next place already. So you're actually like, you know, they're on some serious submarine rides, that West band. When you look at the routing that they go through, their drives are often on the days off. They're driving an entire day off and part of the second day off.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it. If you're going from Albuquerque to San Antonio, you think, oh, the states are just right next to each other. It should be right there. No.
Yeah, the West is
No.
very spread out. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So they, TSO obviously has, enormous popularity in the Northeast. That's where, just where there's the most success. And so the East Band, if this is the United States, we're kind of like here,
Okay.
and the West Band, they go as far as Florida. I mean, they're like playing all the way down to the Florida and all the way
wow.
through here. So that everything's super spread out. And then we're just we're right up in there. So everything is, so we got the
Okay.
nice tight routing, and there is something to be said for that. But they do get some great cities.
Yeah, yeah. How much practicing goes into it for you? I mean, it's obvious it's the same, pretty much the same stuff every year, but it's
No, I mean it changes up, man. They give you a song list. Usually, I'm trying to think when that comes across. Maybe like September, and they'll be like, hey, here are the potential songs. There's always way more than we're gonna play. So,
Yeah.
but a lot of times they want you to play stuff just for future reference that they want to take a look at on the main stage, or they just want to
Right.
hear bands play, or so you always got to learn quite a bit of material for the rehearsals. And then, so yeah, there's a lot of time in advance you spend going through stuff. It's not like you brush up on it for like 2 days and you show up at rehearsals, it takes a lot of prep for sure.
Yeah, not like my rehearsal tomorrow night. Hey, I just listened to the record a couple. Hey, that's how it goes. All right, cool. There you go. Because that's TSO is some pretty intricate stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, that goes anywhere from pretty simple stuff to play on guitar. That's more about the lyrics and the rock opera thing on the front half, where you're just kind of playing power chords. So some easy songs. But then some of it out of nowhere is like the hardest stuff you've ever had to play in your life, and you're like, oh my God, now, so it almost makes it more difficult that it's like that, because, you've been like, well, for 10 minutes, I've been playing power chords, and now we're going to play the hardest stuff ever, so it's,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, speaking of playing with icons, you're going to be on the Michael Schenker record.
Yeah, that was a surprise invite. I know that there's going to be some other guest players on there. I can't really reveal like what the album is and and who those players are, but to get the invite was really cool. It was oddly enough, it came about like this random interaction I had where I met Michael. Like I was on Melrose in LA, and
really?
I was just like shopping for rock clothes, like during Sync rehearsals, and I went into this store, and the only other person in there was Michael Schenker, and he was like trying on a shirt, and I was like, literally had taken his shirt off, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna go up to Michael Schenker like right now with his shirt off and go, hey man, how's it going? So I thought, I'm just gonna like kind of like linger in the corner, because I do want to say hey and introduce myself, and like, because I thought, what are the odds? I'm the only person in this store along with Michael Schenker. Like, I should say hello, right?
Yeah.
So, or at least introduce myself and say, hey man, big fan, So I waited it out, and then when I did go say hello, I didn't think it went very well. I was like, like sometimes you have a conversation like that with somebody, you introduce yourself, and then you leave, and like you second guess yourself. You go, I shouldn't have. Why did I talk to that? I shouldn't have said a hi or anything. And I just kind of thought, I don't know. I left the conversation going like, that didn't go well. Like I should have talked to him, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
And but the producer said, oh no, he remembered you from that. He said, well, let's get that guy. I liked him. He was a nice guy, and I went, oh, okay, I guess it didn't go as bad as I thought, So it's funny, in my mind, that was definitely one of those moments where you introduce yourself to somebody and you go, why did I do that? I shouldn't have done that. I should just shut up and left, and been like, I saw Michael Schenker in that store. But I'm glad, and I'm honored to get the invite to Michael's a legend, and
obviously.
there's like those guys who had held the throne of most influential rock players for certain windows of time, and he definitely held that throne. for a significant period of time in rock guitar, probably prior to Eddie really breaking through and becoming that guy. Eddie Van Halen kind of going like, most players were kind of emulating in the rock world, were emulating Schenker until like Eddie Van Halen kind of stormed through and dropped Eruption on everybody's heads, and everybody went, "What the heck is this?" So for me, he's a legend, and I'm just a guitar player, so it's an honor.
Did you get did he offer it to you before the cruise, or was this after the cruise? And did you guys reconnect on the cruise?
I didn't see him on the cruise, man.
Really? He was the guy wearing a mask the whole time.
Did not see him on the cruise. But I was really surprised. Like I said, I probably would have been scared to say hi on the cruise, because I was like, the first time I was like, yeah, that didn't go well. There's sometimes, you feel like, yeah, I spoke to that person and that conversation went great, and like felt like we really connected, and who knows, maybe you're wrong about those too. So anyway, but it's cool to get the call, and to just trade solos with him on a track is an honor for me. And so, yeah, it's exciting.
That's awesome. And do we have any idea when that might surface at all?
I don't.
You don't. Okay.
I don't really know the details on that. It's just kind of like one of those cool random things that comes along, But I know that a lot of the other guitar players that are getting asked to participate in that are way, way bigger names than me. So it's like really kind of cool to.
Well, without giving too much, what was the feel of the track? Was it kind of UFO-ish? How did the track sound to you? Even if you can't say, that's fine. I'm just picking a little bit, without saying too much. I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask.
I mean, it was a 1/4 rock progression. How about that?
Hey, I tried.
How's that? Yeah, let's see them try and make clickbait out of that.
Damn it! I need something. Damn it! I'm circling the train here.
I think less than mere mortals good. I think that's your clickbait.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
there's my clickbait. Presley calls Hoekstra a less than mere mortal.
Yes. There you go. That's all you need, brother. We're good.
Oh, Jesus.
We're solid.
Jesus Christ. And people want to find the record, which is out now. It is a brand new Joel Hoekstra's 13. Where can they find it? Is it in record stores, or is it just only online?
No, I think there's physical product, and so yeah, I mean, you can get that. I think the Frontiers website's a good place to start, but there is like a link to like all things that, like every streaming site, but like off the top of my head, what that link is, gosh, I don't know what that link is off the top of my head, but Joel Hoekstra's 13 is the artist. That's my project name.
Yes.
And then the name of the album's Crash of Life. And then people can also, if they want to check out the Revolution Saints album that came out in April, that's called Eagle Flight. And that's with myself and Dean Castronova, who we've been talking about, and Jeff Pilson. Be cool for everybody to check that out. And, the follow-up to the iconic first album called Second Skin, oddly enough, is in the works, and gave the riffs to Michael Sweet, so we're working on that.
Nice.
People can expect that in 2024, and that's Tommy Aldridge, my Whitesnake bandmate, on drums, Marco Mendoza on bass, and Michael Sweet, and Nathan James, and myself. So
very cool.
People can look forward to that, and live gigs. Going to be doing Europe with Brandon Gibbs, going out doing acoustic duo stuff. Well, we got actually a run in the Northeast in the US coming up too, but then doing Europe with him, and next year I think we're going to go back to the UK, and some talk maybe doing Japan, and so that's kind of amazing that's turned out to be what it is. That we're like starting to do. I mean, that started off as like just like, hey, I got a hole in my schedule, you want to play a gig kind of thing.
Let's go to Sheboygan.
Yeah, exactly. Now all of a sudden we're taking it all over the place. So that's been a surprise. The Broadway's Rock of Ages band, to go out and do gigs with those guys. And then of course TSO, we already talked about. That'll happen November, December. So that's kind of like all the goings on, and
Whitesnake is just permanently on hold at this point.
That's anything's gonna come from David with that. Like
Obviously.
I really don't have anything definitive. Everybody like looks for something from me, but I don't really have anything definitive. He's never announced anything definitive about that. So, I mean, he's floated the concept of playing in some interviews I've read or heard just like you have. Kind of like we get it the same way. He's in constant touch with us. I mean, we hear from David every day, but it's more like what happens on his Twitter, where it's like the humor and stuff.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's for us, it's like not like, it wouldn't be like cool to be like, hey, what's up, man? Are we jamming or what? Like, it's more like that's up to David when he wants to do that. And so we just kind of like, and no matter what he wants to do, man, like my thing with him is like really great relationship in terms of like my time with the band. So whatever his vision is that he wants to do is cool with me. And he's got my full support. Oh, let's face it, dude, he's worked at, I don't even know what year it all began, really, sadly, but I mean, 45 years, something like that, of Whitesnake. So I mean, he's entitled to do whatever he wants,
exactly,
and he should feel good about whatever he wants to do, and know that he's got guys in his band that are cool with it. I'm not going to be like, well, wait, man, what's it's all good, man. Like whatever he wants to do, he's got my support. And for me, it's more important that we stay cool, that I'm cool with him, and like we have a good thing moving forward. Like just there's I don't want to be like presumptuous, but David has stated that I'm like his friend as well, and that we're not just like, it's like, hey man, we're friends. And it's like, I would like that, he's had that with certain bandmates over the years, some stronger than others, but like, I have a good friendship with him. I would like to keep it that way, like no matter what. That's really important to me.
No, absolutely. I wasn't looking for anything. I was just, permanently on hold.
I mean, I don't know that, but I don't know that it's permanently on hold. I honestly don't. So, but it's, as I said, whatever's up with that is cool with me. Some of the bandmates and I just did a little, I suppose, almost like a tribute set, if you will, with his blessing in France, like literally like 4 days ago, something like that.
Really?
At a guitar festival. So it was Dino singing and Michele singing, kind of trading off, and the other one would go to the keys when, so they kind of traded off the lead vocals, and Marco Mendoza played bass on it. So it was kind of like, 3 current Whitesnake members, past Whitesnake bassist, and then Dino's guitarist and drummer kind of rounded out the band. Tommy was going to do it, but I think just at the end of the day, it just didn't work out with him. But Tommy Aldridge was going to come do that. But that was with David's blessing. He gave us the blessing to go ahead and have a set of White. So it was kind of weird. It was like going out and playing like a set of Whitesnake, and being like, well, this feels very familiar, but it's not. It's like Reb wasn't across the stage for me, and David wasn't in the center, and it was just a little little different. But it definitely felt like I was playing a Whitesnake gig again to a degree.
It was foreigner style. What can I say?
Hey man.
That's not a joke.
Play nice.
That's all in good fun. You know that.
Play nice.
That's how I roll, my friend. Well, dude, it was great to see you. I'm glad you were able to come on, and I think you got to get back in the Cruiser Jam again this year.
Yeah, man. I'm in.
Be fun.
What are we jamming? One Way to Rock again?
No. I've got ideas. I haven't given away the premise of next year yet, so.
You okay?
But I'll be in touch.
All right,
ladies and gentlemen, Joel Hoekstra, everybody, and check out the brand new record. It is. I did listen to it today when I was working. I was forcing it upon my passengers. So
awesome.
Yeah, I do what
forcing it. I like it. What was it earlier? Pile of mush. Less than mere mortal pile of mush, forced it upon my passengers. You've lauded me with praise, my friend. I just pray that I can like lay my huge head down on the pillow tonight. And
you don't realize the praise that actually is. Joel, dude, it was great to see you. I can't hit my outro music because it is stuck on this. So this is what I have to do. Usually I say goodbye off the air. I'm going to text you right after this is done. Because I have to close this out, do like a forced close, and then get into the other thing and end it that way. And yes, there's hand motions and there's all that. Oh, it's good to see you, buddy. Thank you again, man. You know you're always welcome.
Awesome. Thanks so much, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, man. Take care. Joel Hoekstra, everybody.
Talk to you soon, bro.
See ya.
See ya.
It's not even letting me do this. Holy shit. Now watch this. See if you know what? It's just going to have to end on the power off. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been another fucking podcast. I will see you next week. I say good day.